What is good, Smooth Nation? We're here to do another. The thing's not even plugged in. What is good, Smooth Nation? We're here to do a reaction video. Now, I don't normally do these things, but this video was so interesting with so many questions that I had to react to it. So let's begin. I'm going to edit things so I don't get sued.
As soon as you come into the world, you're taken from your mother and placed in an incubator. There is no time for her to raise you. She's sent back to work immediately. Parenthood doesn't really exist in a sane society, especially amongst low-class warriors. Your parents don't care about you. Not because they're cruel, but because they've been taught not to. For them, you're just
The question is that how their society is? Or is that how they are genetically? Because people act like how they're just genetically built to act. But, societal influence is also a thing. So is this just how the Saiyans are? Or is this how the Saiyans were groomed to be by Frieza and King Cold? Were they just groomed to be these savages? Or were they always like that? Because I remember Vegeta in Super said that they destroyed their home planet, Vegeta. And they had to go and conquer another. They destroyed their home planet, Salad. And they had to go conquer another planet, Vegeta. So is this just how the Saiyans are? Or were they groomed like this?
another soldier. There is even a good chance you'll never see them again. As a Saiyan, you don't belong to your family. You belong to the army. The moment you're placed in the incubator, your fate is in their hands. The army runs tests to figure out your power level. That number decides everything about your future. If your power level is very low, you might be one of the lucky few to escape the warrior life. You would be given to the non-fighters to be raised for simple tasks. Cleaning, cooking, or building. It's not much of a life, but it's safe and peaceful. That's more than what most Saiyans get. If your power level is decent enough, you might be sent off to a distant planet as part of the king's new program. They've started sending babies to conquer worlds on their own.
See, stuff like that. See, there's like animals and stuff who will do something like there's birds who will drop their eggs off in other birds' nests to get another bird to raise them. And like doing messed up stuff is kind of how a lot of creatures are. But again, is this how they always were, or were they just where society told them to do this?
The idea is simple. If the child succeeds, the Saiyans gain a new planet. If not...
Listen. You want to skip this ad. I would too. But what if I told you...
I am not getting
There's a skip ads for everybody.
It's no big loss, but the program almost never works. For most Saiyans though, a high enough power level means only one thing. You'll be raised as a low-class warrior. You'll grow up in one of the army's thousands of incubators, surrounded by others just like you. When you're old enough, they'll take you out and put you in basic classes. Education is still a new idea for the Saiyans. It's not something they value on their own. The only reason they teach you to read and count is because King Cold's forces require it. They want you to know how to fly their ships, read their commands, and use their technology. You're
King Cold. Okay, so this wasn't Saiyan tech. In fact, how much of this is actually canon? How much of this is head canon? That's the question you need to be asked. Tell me below.
Indoctrination begins early. You are taught to take pride in destruction, to see the erasure of entire planets and races as a noble duty, a cornerstone for Saiyan pride. But even amidst the harsh discipline and brainwashing, these early days are ironically some of the best of your life. But these lessons don't last long. As soon as you can read basic instructions, that's where they teach you what being a Saiyan is really about. Training is hard. As soon as you learn to control your energy...
Here's the questionable thing. See, Vegeta, it was shown on that training and getting stronger is actually foreign to most alien species in Dragon Ball. See, when Goku first met Vegeta, Goku went on, but if I train hard enough, I can surpass an elite and stuff like that. And Vegeta thought it was nonsense, which shows that Vegeta didn't really train much in terms of power. In fact, in the Frieza saga, he just spammed his Zenkai boost over and over and over. He just spammed his Zenkai boost. So Vegeta didn't really train that much in terms of power. He was just kind of born a prodigy and was just kind of lucky. So this implies that they didn't really train all that much. Bardock being an exception, being one of the few who actually did train a lot.
They teach you some basic Saiyan techniques like the garlic gun. At first, it feels exciting, like you're tapping into something greater. But then they start pairing you up with kids your age for fights. Brutal, no holds bar, last man standing matches. Tournaments are organized all the time. They say it's to train the next generation of warriors, but really, it feels like a show. Something for the older soldiers to bet on. When they decide you're ready, you move to the second part of your training. That's when things start to get very bad. You are introduced to the Cybermen, vicious plant-like creatures that were found in one of King Cole's conquered planets. The Saiyans use them for war, but also for this training. Your task is simple. Fight them. These things are so strong. Far stronger than you. The first time you fight, you barely stand a chance. You get beat into the ground over and over again.
Saiyan training is essentially just spam Zenkai boost as much as possible. Like a lot of these Saiyans, they didn't really train in terms of new techniques in martial arts like Goku. Goku actually trained to fight, went in martial arts competitions and stuff. These niggas just spam Zenkai boost over and over and over. That's all Vegeta did in the Frieza saga. When he got Namek, he just spammed his Zenkai boost over and over.
And every time you think you might die, they drag you back from the brink just to throw you in.
In fact, I'm gonna go on another rant. The whole Vegeta and Goku thing. Goku is a vastly better fighter than Vegeta. Goku has so many more techniques. Goku knows fighting in and out. Vegeta, he just spams his Zenkai boost and relies heavy on his basic battle instincts and not going. He never goes to anything advanced on Goku's level. Goku is so much better of a martial artist. That's why he was able to tap into Super Saiyan before anybody else. That's why he was able to do all those other things, because he was an actual martial artist, not just a brawler, soldier. In fact, here's the thing. Most soldiers, like, don't believe what you see in the movies. Most soldiers, most military guys have pretty basic fighting skills. They're not like the MMA fighters who are super advanced and have all these techniques. Most soldiers have just pretty basic hand-hand. They're pretty competent. They can fight like the average Go on the street. You throw them against an MMA fighter, they're freaking dead.
To the next fight. The trainers know that your small, fragile body isn't a match for the Cybermen. But that's the point. They want you to experience what they call a Zenkai boost. Saiyans get stronger after surviving near-death experiences, so they push you to the edge over and over again. It's painful. It's humiliating. But they tell you that this is what it means to be a Saiyan.
Isn't there an easier way to do that? Why not like there was a skit where since they get Zenkai boost, they just freaking shot themselves over and over and over in order to just get a Zenkai boost. Why can't they just do that? Why can't they just do that? It seems like this is just needs to be cool and counterproductive.
Some of your cameras don't make it. They die during training, but no one mourns them. Instead, the trainers tell you that there is no greater honor than dying for strength. It's twisted, but you cling to the idea. It's the only thing that makes the pain feels worth it. Spoiler, it's not. When you've survived long enough, it's time for the final part of your training. You're going to learn to control the Saiyan's most powerful weapon, the Ozaru. To do this, the trainers create artificial moons to force your transformation into a great ape. They tell you to focus and try to control it. That's it. No real technique, no instructions. There is no real method to controlling this power. It's different for everyone. You're thrown into this for weeks, spending more time in your transformed state than your normal form. The transformations leave you exhausted. You're barely yourself anymore. Just a tool they are sharpening.
Another thing about the Ozaru forms, that when Gohan went Ozaru for the first time in Dragon Ball, I don't think it was filler, I think it was canon. The second he got out of it, the second he awoke, he was stronger, he was more aggressive than ever. Like Gohan was a freaking coward until he went to his Ozaru form and then went back. So I think going Ozaru awakens this inner savage in you. It makes you more aggressive, even in your base state.
For war. If you're lucky, or unlucky, eventually you begin to understand how to control the form. At least enough to follow orders when transformed. Mastery is rare. Something only the truly skilled can achieve. For you, a low-class fighter, this is as far as you'll go.
What exactly is the difference between the low-class fighters and the high class. Like Vegeta's always going on about how he's an elite. What does that really mean? Do you know more techniques and stuff? Because an elite into the Saiyan race is just having a bit higher power level and more talent. That's it. It's not a skill thing. Training for strength is something rare in Dragon Ball. That's what made Goku like. That's what made the human so special. Because like training and having all these new techniques, the Dragon Ball universe has way more advanced martial arts. Like the Earth in Dragon Ball has more advanced martial arts than anybody else in the universe. It's what I'm trying. It's what I'm getting from watching Dragon Ball.
It's enough to keep you alive on the battlefield, and that's all they expect of you. And now you're ready to fulfill the destiny they've drilled into your head since birth, ready to fight, to conquer, and to kill. Whether you actually want it or not, that doesn't matter. You're a Saiyan, and this is your purpose.
Play War Thunder now. Join millions of players across the globe in massive battles on tanks.
Your training years were hard, but somehow you've forgotten most of the pain and suffering. Now you're preparing for your first mission, and your focus has shifted to the future. If it's anything like the adults described, it might even be acceptable. You're not exactly thrilled
about... we know that Saiyan stays small, because we found out in Diamond, Saiyan stays small for a long time until they hit puberty at 15. Because like, they hit a growth spurt at 15, and then they get big. So majority of those hard training is done when they're very little. So when they hit that growth spurt, what does that imply? Tell me what you think below.
Of the idea of wiping out entire species, but at least you'll be free. Free to explore the universe and to fight exciting battles. Because, at the end of the day, you're a Saiyan. You can't deny that fighting brings you a certain thrill. But... okay,
what degree of fighting? Because I understand that some animals genuinely do enjoy fighting and stuff like it's not uncommon for animals to play fight each other and stuff. Like, what exactly is the limit? Are you just psychopaths like freaking dolphins? There's so many questions you could ask about Saiyan culture.
You were so wrong. The life of a Saiyan warrior is miserable. When you were a kid, they told you stories of Saiyan glory, of how they were the strongest race in the universe, how conquering planets was as easy as flipping a switch, how entire civilizations crumbled before them. Those were all lies. Conquering planet is a grueling work. Many have powerful armies willing to fight for the...
See, this is an actual really good argument. See, in the Frieza saga, we find out that a lot of species actually look down on the Saiyans. They think them as just savages because they have either better technology or they have better abilities. The Saiyans are like a bunch of Hulks. They're all just brute power and just destroy. Okay, but what do you do when someone has abilities like turning intangible? Or someone has like hits time stop? Or someone just has way better tech? What do you do against that?
The last breath. Others have advanced technologies or secret weapons that gives them a massive edge. Some use magic or strange abilities that are impossible to predict. And some planets even have their own teams of superheroes protecting them. Heroes who are often stronger than you. Since Frieza took over the Cold Force, now called the Frieza Force...
I guess because in the Bardock special, they all went Ozaru to take out those guys who can see the future. So I guess Ozaru is their ace in the hole for fighting all these super powerful guys.
Things have only gotten worse. He only sent Saiyans to the planets with the highest power level, claiming it's because Saiyans are his strongest warriors. But some whisper that it's because Frieza despises the Saiyans and wants to see them suffer. More often than not, conquering a planet takes multiple attempts. Each time you come back injured and barely alive. The fights aren't even...
Yeah, because now I think because of the Zenkaibus, the real problem with the Saiyan was the Ozaru and Zenkaibus. They go over, they try to conquer the planet, they probably lose the first time around. But then when they come back, the survivors are like 100 times stronger than they were before. And now they're just so hard to put down because of those Zenkaibus. The real ace in the hole of Saiyans was the Zenkaibus and the Ozarus. That's it, because that's what made them so dangerous.
thrilling. They are chaos, pure chaos. And when you do win, that's when the real horror begins. You're expected to wipe out everyone, families, children, without any hesitation. It's heartbreaking, at least for you. The others don't seem to care. Maybe they're just hiding it, or maybe you are different. Every victory feels hollow. You don't even get to claim spoils or enjoy rewards. Everything goes to...
That's the other thing. We don't really get to see exactly how the Saiyans lived. We know that they had a lot of advanced tech. The Saiyans were more so slaves than anything else. They're just as much victims.
For a low-class warrior like you, there is no salary. Just scraps you manage to scavenge during the chaos. This is your life for years. No rest. No peace. You spend more time injured and broken than whole. After every mission, you're rushed to the medical pod to heal, only to be sent out again as soon as you're fit to fight. You start craving the pods. Despite the pain, it's the only time you feel at peace. But it's during these moments of solitude, floating in that strange liquid, that a thought takes root.
Real talk, half Saiyans have it best. Actually, no, I'm not even gonna say the half Saiyans, because full Saiyans, Goku probably had it easier than any other Saiyan in history, because he wasn't raised on planet Vegeta. He didn't have to go through all this nonsense. A part of him does enjoy fighting in the same way that a kid enjoys action movies. It's like Goku was raised to be an actual martial artist and not just spam Zenkai over and over. You're not really learning to fight when you're just spamming Zenkai. You're just getting stronger. It's like bodybuilders. Put on all this weight, but they're not really training in any type of fighting style. They rely on basic instincts.
A thought that you can't shake. You can't keep living like this. After all these years, the exhaustion has reached a point where it's unbearable. You need to find a way out. At first,
say goodbye to Slack because chat's here and it's inside ClickUp. Everything you need in chat is here. Like
you consider escaping, just leaving it all behind. But it doesn't take long for reality to crush that idea. Frieza's scouters track every movement, and with the reputation the Saiyans have across the galaxy, there is nowhere safe for you to go. Even if you could evade capture, you'd be constantly hunted. And then, there is the
Real talk, there is no way on Earth that all the Saiyans were on planet Vegeta. You mean to tell me these guys have technology, they can travel the universe. Literally just any random dude could just buy a spaceship for like $3 and go explore the universe. And the universe is so freaking big. There's no way that all the Saiyans were on planet Vegeta. Of course there's going to be Broly out there. So of course there's going to be some off guys, especially when you go into non-canon type stuff. There's going to be a bunch of Saiyan stuff. Like, I don't believe it.
Pride. Saiyan pride. You spend your entire life rejecting the propaganda, mocking it in your head, seeing it for the tool of manipulation it is. But deep down, that pride still lingers. The thought of running away feel like an unbearable shame. Even if you hate the life they forced on you, escaping like a coward isn't an option. What you really want is revenge. Revenge on Frieza, the one responsible for the endless pain and suffering of your people. And revenge on Prince Vegeta, who stands on the top and does nothing to help those below him. He benefits from the system as much as Frieza does, and he's just as guilty. For the first time in your life, you see things clearly. The Saiyan condition isn't just painful, it's unacceptable. You've been fed lies from the day you were born. Your purpose as a Saiyan isn't to fight and conquer, it's to rise above this. It's to do something about it. So you start to speak, carefully and quietly. You talk to people you trust, at least a little. You've heard stories about Saiyan who rebelled, who refused to stay in the line only to disappear without a trace. So you trade lightly, choosing your words and your audience with care.
Low key, it's kind of a good thing that the Saiyans got wiped out, because could you imagine an entire planet of Super Saiyans running around? Because we see how strong Goku and Vegeta get. It's freaking ridiculous. Imagine having a whole planet of Super Saiyan 2s, Super Saiyan 3s, Super Saiyan gods, because like the Saiyans could do the ritual and get a Super Saiyan god. So you got all these freaking universe busting guys running around. Like, oh, Frieza did the universe a favor. Frieza did the universe a favor by getting rid of these things. Imagine a whole planet of that. Nah, no sir, I don't want that.
Tell your comrades that this life isn't fair, that the pain and suffering, the endless battles, should at least come with a reward. That even if they enjoy destroying planets, shouldn't they at least claim the spoils? Shouldn't they have the right to live with dignity? Not as tools for someone else's empire? You remind them of the shared experiences, of battles where you stood together, bleeding and broken, of how some of the weakest races you've conquered managed to resist just by working together, of how some of them chose to die at your hands rather than live as slaves for Frieza. You ask why Saiyans, with all their pride, don't do the same. You tell them that there is nothing more honorable, nothing more glorious than toppling the ruler of the galaxy himself, to prove that Saiyans are more than just pawns in someone else's game. And that's when the harshest truth of all hits you. The worst thing about your condition isn't the forced battles or the constant pain. It is not the evil you're made to do or the innocent lives you destroy. It's not even the fact that you receive nothing in return. No, the worst thing about your condition is the others. It's that everyone around you accepts it. The true tragedy of your life is not Frieza's cruelty or the Saiyan's government's submission. It's the ignorance, the false consciousness of your people. They have bought into the lies so deeply that they don't even see the chains around their necks. You spend months trying to find others like you. Those who refuse to let their destiny be directed by...
There probably was some group of rebellious Saiyans who didn't want to kick with anyone, who didn't want to kick with Frieza at all. There probably was. Remember in the Broly movie, they tried to shoot Frieza. There was those snipers who tried to shoot Frieza. So yeah.
Who wants something more than this life of endless battles and misery. For a long time, it feels hopeless. Most of the Saiyans you approach are too entrenched in the lies to even consider your words. But then, one day, you find them. It starts with a single soldier, cautious but curious. He listens more than he speaks, asking you subtle questions about your beliefs. Eventually, he reveals himself as a part of a secret group. A group that shares your ideas.
Are you a Roblox fanatic? Microsoft Rewards has a brand new way for you to earn digital...
But has been hiding, waiting for the right moment to act. You're introduced to the others, a small gathering of Saiyans, mostly low-ranking warriors like yourself, along with a handful of Tuffles. The Tuffles are a race that had always lived under the Saiyan rule on planet Vegeta as slaves.
Oh yeah,
but
because in GT, there was the Tuffles with Baby, which is a terrible name for a villain. I don't care what reasoning there is. Calling a grown man baby. A girl, sure, but you know, it's like the Tuffles in GT. Wait, are they still canon? Because GT isn't canon, but I guess because in Super they said that the Saiyans conquered planet Vegeta. So there was another race there before them. I guess that could be the toughest.
Frieza's race to power, some of them have gained positions of influence, thanks to their scientific ingenuity. Their knowledge is very valuable, and their inclusion in the group is a testament of the vision you all share. A galaxy free of Frieza's tyranny. For the first time in your life, you feel like you have true comrades, friends. It's a strange feeling, the sense of connection. Having people you care about is something you'd never allowed yourself to imagine. It makes the missions harder. Destroying innocent lives weighs heavier on you now that you have people you care about. But the energy in the group is very infectious, and it fills you with hope. The members have real strategies, real plans for change. Some advocate for reaching out to the Galactic Patrol, hoping for an alliance. Others suggest building a coalition of races devastated by Frieza's conquest to mount a rebellion. And then there are the whispers, rumors that Frieza may not even be the strongest being in the universe. Some believe that there are others out there more...
I just realized, where is the Galactic Patrol throughout this whole thing? Where's the Galactic Patrol? Because they were introduced in Resurrection F. If there really is these global space police, well, why was they allowing Frieza to get away with crap? Why were they allowing the Saiyans to get away with destroying stuff? Where were they? Was Frieza just too strong? Was Frieza just paying them off? Were they in on it? Man, we need to know. We need to know.
Powerful than him. And then, one day, a tougher historian in the group shares something that shakes you to your core. He tells you the story of Yamushi. The myth of the legendary Super Saiyan, he explains, is not a myth at all. It's history. Yamushi was real. A Saiyan who rose above all the chaos and brutality of his time, who stood for something greater than destruction. As the historian speaks, you feel something awaken inside you. Pride. Real pride. Not the hollow, manipulative kind you've been fed your entire life, but the kind that comes from knowing your people are capable of greatness. For weeks, Yamushi is all your group can talk about. His story becomes a beacon of hope. You dream of finding him, or someone like him, a savior who will rise, defeat Frieza, and free the Saiyan race from its chain. For the first time in your life, you look forward to the future. The idea of the Super Saiyan consumes you, driving you forward with a renewed sense of purpose. And for the first time, you dare to believe that things might actually change. Weeks pass, and you and your new group work tirelessly to gather scraps of information that could help you stand against Frieza. Strategies, weaknesses, anything. Your group is usually secretive. No information leaves its circle. But this time, something does. The legend of the Super Saiyan. Maybe someone in the group got too excited and let it slip. Maybe they tried to use it to recruit others. Whatever the reason, word spread fast. Before long, you hear some soldiers talking about it. They don't take it seriously. Most of them dismiss it as nonsense, a wild conspiracy theory to laugh about during downtime. Thankfully, no one seems to suspect your group as the source of the rumor. But this rumor doesn't stop with the Saiyans. It spreads through the ranks of Frieza's army, even reaching Frieza himself. And to your astonishment, you hear from one of your comrades that Frieza believes it. And not only he believes it, but he's growing paranoid. At first, this feels like a victory. You think,
Have you seen two black winter hats?
No.
we've already gotten into his head. If he's so scared of the Super Saiyan, maybe he'll leave us alone. But you were so wrong. At the time, you couldn't have known how deeply Frieza's fear would run, or how devastating its consequences would be. You didn't know then, and in that ignorance, you allowed yourself a rare moment of happiness. For the first time, you let yourself fall in love. She was a member of your group, sharp and fearless, with strength that went beyond her power level.
And she got the classic anime hair of one thing down, one thing. I don't understand it. Does anybody in real life have one hair going down? That would suck, having hair constantly getting your eyes and shit.
In society, monogamous relationships are almost unheard of. But in your little group, it's different. When the two of you announce your bond, everyone celebrates. Even as the planning and preparation for the change continue, you feel lighter for once. The weight of battles and fear seems easier to carry with her on your side. But peace never lasts long in a Saiyan's life. The stress comes rushing back the day she tells you she's pregnant. It is not the idea of becoming a father that scares you. Not at all. The thought of having a child fills you with something rare. Something that feels like a purpose. It's a feeling you've barely allowed yourself to experience since your childhood was stripped away by war. What terrifies you is the thought of your child enduring the same horrors you faced. The battles, the blood.
Yeah, that's actually kind of worse. A lot of dudes, they don't want to have kids in fear that something might happen to the kid. People with a severe, disability that's genetic, they're born with a defect, they fear having a kid because that kid might have the same defect as them. I've met people like that. I've had bad thoughts of my own.
Endless suffering. There is no way you're going to let that happen. You have to save him. Your son is taken by the army and placed in artificial wombs like all the others. Soon, they'll start assessing his power level, and if he's deemed fit for recruitment, he'll be taken away, and you may never see him again. This thought haunts you. A part of you hopes, desperately, that your son will be weak enough to be rejected by the army, weak enough to be released to some non-fighters and be forgotten. Then you could find him and take him away.
The other thing, because we know that some Saiyans specialize in just tech, And some Saiyans are just like medics and stuff. So how do they live? Saiyans who don't fight, how do they live? If they're just medics and stuff. You know, Gine was like a medic Saiyan, not a fighter. So how did she do?
Far from the violence and the suffering, but the news isn't promising. Insiders in your group tell you that the early data suggests that your son has an extremely high power level. He might even be one of the elites. You're crushed. You feel like you've lost your only chance to save him. And yet, deep down, you can't deny a flicker of pride. When all you want for him is to be spared, you feel proud that your son has inherited such strength.
Today, we're checking out Once Human. It's an open-world survival game set in a supernatural post-apocalyptic.
You feel hopeless until your group steps in to help. They know how much your child means to you. They see the fire in your eyes and understand that this isn't just about your son. It's about everything you're fighting for. After weeks of planning, they help you devise a solution. The Saiyan government is strict, but it's also very corrupt. If you know the right people and have enough to offer, you can sometimes bend the rule. So you and your wife sell everything you own, everything you've ever earned, and offer it as a bribe. It costs you everything, but it works. The documents are falsified. Your son is officially labeled as weak and unfit for service, and he's finally released. The weight lifts from your shoulders, and now the real work begins. Your group knows the clock is ticking. It's time to finalize the plans for your operation. The rebellion is no longer a distant dream. It's real, and it's starting now. And you will do whatever it takes to ensure your son has a future worth fighting for. But before any concrete plan could be made, shocking news reached your group. One of your comrades, a Tuffle with insider access to the army, he has been working in one of the incubation facilities where newborn Saiyan power levels were evaluated, and they discovered a child with a power level unlike anything ever recorded. It was beyond comprehension, and he was sure this child might be the legendary Super Saiyan. The group was stunned. Their hope was reignited in a way you hadn't seen before. But there was a problem. King Vegeta himself has ordered the child to be exiled to an inhabited planet. No explanation was given, but it was clear. The king saw the child as a threat, not a savior. This revelation only deepened the group's resentment towards the king. It confirmed what you had always suspected. King Vegeta thrived under Frieza's rule and worked to preserve the very system that enslaved the Saiyan race. The group decided to act immediately. A small team volunteered to steal one of Frieza's ships and start searching for the exiled child. They knew the risks. Their disappearance will not be unnoticed, and Frieza's forces would hunt them relentlessly. But the possibility of finding the legendary Super Saiyan was worth everything. As expected, news quickly spread that the ship was missing, and Frieza's paranoia grew. He was already fearful of the Super Saiyan legend, and this event pushed his suspicions further. While your comrades pursued this faint hope, you focused on what little time you could spend with your son. Your work in the army left no time for you to be a father, and he was largely cared for by a trusted comrade who had no fighting duties. It hurt to see him grow up without you, but you trusted your friend to keep him safe. Then came an unprecedented command. All Saiyans were to return to planet Vegeta immediately. Off-world operations were to cease entirely. At first, the directive seemed like an unusual...
Don't do it! You can still earn income while learning how to code! I'm a janitor! There's no experience...
but welcomed opportunity to finally spend time with your kid. But upon returning to the planet, the mood among your comrades was tense. Insiders had uncovered troubling information. Frieza was behind the recall. That much was certain, but no one could say for sure what he was planning. The theories were grim. Some believed he intended to end the Saiyan self-governance entirely, folding them permanently into his army to weaken their autonomy further. The implications were dire. Such move would make your mission almost impossible. The rebellion would lose its footing before it even begun. One of your comrades shared the story of another father who, fearing the worst, he sent his child to a distant
Why they make his head look all circly? Look like Stewie Griffin It's Stewie Griffin.
Weak planet. A precaution against the unknown future. You thought about it, but dismissed the idea. You had fought so hard to keep your son close, to protect him from the system. Sending him away felt like giving up, like erasing everything you had sacrificed. If only you had known what was coming. If only you had done the same. Anyways, things aren't looking good. But after long discussions, the group reached the most obvious conclusion. Wait and see what Frieza is planning. There is no clear move to make until his intentions became known. But just in case, you prepare an escape plan. A way to get off the planet if things go wrong. You all agree to use the few free days you have on planet Vegeta to take care of any unfinished business. For you, there is only one priority, your son. You decide to use this brief window of time to truly get to know him and finally start training him. Not the brutal, soul-crushing kind of training you endured as a child, but real martial arts, techniques, and philosophies you've picked up through years of experience. Lessons about strength, discipline, and compassion. The kind of lessons you wish you had been taught. You lay awake that night, envisioning the life you wanted to give him. He would be a warrior like no other, a symbol of hope for the Saiyans. You imagine the future, a better one. A life where your son grows up to be the warrior you always dreamed of being. A life where he fights not with strength, but with a pure heart. Like Yamushi, the hero who inspired you. And why not? Maybe your son is special. Maybe, just maybe, he will be a legendary Super Saiyan. This idea fills you with happiness, so overwhelming, it feels foreign. It's the happiest you've ever been in your miserable life. And the happiest you'll ever be. At least, you got that moment. Because suddenly, everything changes. You wake up to chaos. Screams echo in the streets.
Didn't you come up with an escape plan?
People running in every direction, panicked and desperate, shouting for help. Then you saw it. The largest energy bomb you had ever laid your eyes on was speeding towards your planet. Some of your comrades had already...
Real talk, this was a stupid idea, Frieza's. The Saiyans are your best source of income. The Saiyans are your best soldiers. And you're gonna wipe them all out. Because you're insecure of yourself. That one of them might fight you. Well, Frieza, you know, if you were a bit nicer to the Saiyans, they wouldn't try to kill you. So, like, this is how insecure people act. They see someone who they think is a threat to them, and they start to attack them. Like, what? Are you stupid? Just don't mess with them, and they won't mess with you. If you're a little nice to the Saiyans, then the Saiyans wouldn't think about rebelling against you. And you didn't even know. You didn't even know for sure they were going to rebel against you. Frieza's an idiot, bro. Frieza's an idiot, bro.
They launched themselves into the sky, desperate to stop it. You followed, your body moving before your mind could even process the situation. You had to help. You had to fight, but it was pointless. Before you could even reach them, it was over.
If you ever want to know why I block ads with Pi, this is why I block ads with Pi.
I just found what may be the biggest...
You, or what was left of you, drifted in the cold vacuum of space. And as the fragments of your shattered planet floated around you, the cold void of space seeping into what was left of you, you couldn't stop the thoughts flooding your mind. What was I thinking?
Like, imagine what that would look like, watching the planet explode. I mean, like, would you even, like, imagine the Earth opening up and just exploding. Because, like, what would you even see? Like, you'd be turned to dust. You'd be nothing. So in that one moment, what is it gonna be like, man? I can't even imagine that.
Truly believed the Saiyans could have a better life. You truly believed you could change something. How foolish. How naive. You see it clearly now. You were delusional. The others were right all along. King Vegeta was right. He wasn't a tyrant. He wasn't a coward. He was trying to protect your race the only way he knew how. By keeping you in line. By keeping you from provoking the wrath of someone as powerful as Frieza. And yet, you couldn't accept it. You wanted more. You clung to fantasies, desperate to hold on to any shred of hope. You believed in a legend, an ancient story, told to children. A bedtime tale meant to inspire wonder. But that's all it ever was. The Super Saiyan does not exist. The Saiyans were never destined for greatness. You were nothing more than a race of brutal, brainless warriors, tearing each other apart and selling your might to the highest bidder. But that wasn't enough for you, was it? You wanted more. You wanted to rise above what you were, to reach beyond the limits of your nature. You were greedy, and your greed destroyed everything. You caused this. Frieza's paranoia, his decision to wipe out your people. It's all started with you, with your delusions. You were so desperate to believe in something, to make your pathetic existence mean something, that you set into motion the end of your entire race. Perhaps you deserved it, after all the pain your people caused to others, after all the planets your kind ravaged. Perhaps this was justice. But your son, you thought of him, of the life you had wanted to give him, and you felt the weight of your failure crush you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, son. Your life ended so quickly, so cruelly, because of me. I'm sorry it even begun. I shouldn't have brought you into such brutal, hopeless world. A small flicker of light caught your eye. A faint glow of your scouter's screen. A message. Someone had sent you something. But before you could open it, before you could read these final words, your life was already over.
Dang. Well, tell what you guys think below.